A very warm welcome back to the Chef JKP podcast. And today, a super special, amazing guest, Pratt, who is the founder of the Caviar Spoon. Pratt, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm super excited. It's my first ever podcast, actually.
Aha!
Yes,
Amazing.
so I'm feeling very privileged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's a lot to get through. There's some amazing things that I would like to discuss. So, first of all, can you tell us all about the Caviar Spoon, number one, and how you became the founder of the Caviar Spoon?
Well, my background predominantly was recruitment. So years ago, I started recruitment and headhunting, and then fell into creating the Caviar Spoon just by doing a few reviews of restaurants and chefs and hotels, and noticed there was big gaps between collaborations, experiences. I noticed in the Middle East there's so much overspending going on in digital, in social media, PR, and people weren't thinking about the fundamentals of collaborations, which kind of has been swept under the carpet for a number of years, and that's down to, I think, digital and just being a bit lazy, to be honest. So the Caviar Spoon came up with this concept, had a look around and went, hey, we need to start matchmaking brands with brands. And that could vary from hotels, it could vary from moving chefs into pop-ups, it could be chefs coming together. And I remember Greg Malouf once said that no chefs would ever collaborate. And now look at what's going on. Yep. So he apologised for that. So over the time, we tested it out, and we're now in the final stages of launching the platform, which has been an 18-month project. It's 15% shareholder HubSpot in New York, and it's going to be incredible. And it's for hotels, it's for chefs, design houses, where you can collaborate in experiences or co-branded opportunities. So think of an artist painting an F&B bottle of, F&B brand, drinks brand. So it can go from that. Or it could be a collaboration where a chef goes on an adventure with the tourism board. So there's so many things that's going to be happening with the Caviar Spoon. I'm very excited.
Wow. And so is it UAE centric or is it worldwide?
Worldwide, yeah. Which is great, because sometimes an experience here, you've got the brands on the ground. But other times you may want to gain global exposure. So, for example, you could be looking to do an event in Stockholm. So you'll be able to buddy up with chefs or experiences in Stockholm. So we're making it global, just to kind of spread that reach out. Because lots of people in collaborations, they have different objectives. One could be just gaining exposure locally. It could be an event locally. But it could also be gaining global exposure. And for brands and for celebrity status chefs, etc., we don't necessarily have buckets of marketing budgets, nor should we. I think there's an easier way to do that, and by collaborating and using the platform, that is the answer.
Wow, sounds amazing.
It really is amazing, and I can't believe, when you hear about these people say, well, I came up with the idea and then realised that no one else is doing it. Sometimes the best ideas are the most obvious ones. So we did the research, and yes, there's influencer and brand platforms. There's small business collaborations, but not one where you can do video profiles, video pitch collaborations. On the system, you'll be able to search for guest lists, where we've graded the guests in terms of have they turned up for an event or were they no-shows. So you're going to get the credible people coming to your experiences as well. And wrapped around that is the whole learning about collaboration. So insights and trends with global thought leaders and brands who are doing this really well.
Well, look, talking of collaborations, one thing that I personally love is music. So I studied music at college before I became a chef. And lots of artists, before this came along, you would have, let's say, Britney Spears. And then she would do a collaboration with Madonna, for example. And then that seemed to have blown up. Now, why do you feel that collaborations are such a big thing? Because you're absolutely right. When two huge parties get together, some real serious explosions can happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, two brains are better than one. So even look at the dreaded pandemic which has happened. You get two pharmaceutical companies or two engineering businesses, they were coming together. Look at the biggest rivals on this planet, and that is McDonald's and Burger King. They came together. So over the time, the egos have dropped, and we've realised that we have to come together, even with what we'd call our competitors. But above and beyond that, it makes sense. If you have a brand which is aligned to your brand and you can come together in things like entertainment, why wouldn't it work? It's going to save also unnecessary overspending. You're going to be supporting each other. You could be opening up new avenues. But it's also with collaborations, it's looking at industries or sectors you would never think of. So Coors, non-alcoholic beer, did a collaboration with National Geographic. So with that collaboration, it was going on a exploring adventure. So they picked up two explorers. They had the non-alcoholic beer. They had Nat Geo, and they created a series. So that's a collaboration which you would never really think of. But now throw in a couple of chefs who went on the adventure with them, where they could actually cook on hot coals in the mountains. You have another dynamic. So you're pulling in then the foodies, the adventurers, the travel. So all of that coming together makes an incredible collaboration.
I never even thought of that. That's so true.
Yeah, you need to think of it. Think of it. Because what you could do with your stuff is absolutely epic. But I think where, as a society, we've been in the past few years, it's been way too easy. We've had marketing budgets where we've just paid for bots or digital. We've stopped speaking to people. You post a picture on Instagram, which is this, flashy picture, but we're looking for meaning. And since COVID as well, people are looking for authenticity, they're looking for storytelling, and they're looking for meaning and purpose. And that's when, if we all come together, we can create incredible experiences.
Amazing. I couldn't agree more. I think you're right. Since as you said, the dreaded pandemic, the human touch is even more important now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even more so.
If you look at retail, people used to say that the high street is dying. I'd completely disagree, because people are craving connection. They're craving to go to a restaurant. They're craving to go to a concert. They're craving to walk into a shop. But it's not just walking into a shop now. It's walking into an experience. And that's where I think with restaurants, say in the Middle East, the two things that people are looking for is hygiene, and the second thing is impeccable service, and the third thing is give me an experience, a safe experience. And that's where the hospitality world could be absolutely raking in so much more, so many more clients. They can be making more ROI, but we have to pull down the barriers and have boundaryless thinking to make this work.
It's amazing. Couldn't agree more. Now, over the past 18 months that you've been setting up the Caviar Spoon, what would you say have been your biggest learning curve so far going into a business like this one?
Oh, without fail, when you start with anything, I've always been in startups, and the same as a new job, you want to be a Ferrari, but you're going to be plodding along like a clapped out Ford truck, and it's frustrating. Also, you have to sacrifice. So anyone who's starting up and they think they're going to get the regular income, you don't. I gave up a great position here to actually do this, and you do have to sacrifice, and you do have to be true to yourself. The other thing is, as well, is no one knows you, right? So no one's going to really listen to you, and it's not going to come to you. So you need to put your blinkers on, and you need to shut off the white noise and give yourself specific targets. So even if you have to sign to yourself a contract, you need to know what you need to do to get to where you want to be, and don't let anyone or anything stop you. And if that means switching off Instagram, then you do it just so you focus. Because especially here, more so, everyone's looking at what other people are doing. And then they lose track of the vision. Or they might get people say, collaborations, where's the money in that? Why it doesn't work? You have to park that. And you have to keep so focused, and nothing is going to stop you. Because there'll be a lot of people who may want to stop you because they wish they thought of it as well. And that's the reality.
Absolutely. I mean, competition is rife anywhere in the world, but specifically within Dubai. Competition is really hardcore, I would say. I mean, within hospitality itself, 130 five-star hotels just in Dubai and almost 12,000 restaurants.
Yeah. So with that...
And as you said, experience is everything. Yeah. I completely agree.
I mean, can you imagine, you look at the restaurants which are opening in Dubai, and I sit there and I'm like, it's the same thing, the same process. Someone needs to actually shake the tree and come up with some different concepts and not be scared to do collaborations that no one else has ever done, because that is the whole purpose, that you are, to a degree, maverick enough to say, let's give it a whirl. And it doesn't matter, what I always say to people, you're never ever going to get it right all the time, but would you prefer to try it and learn, or let someone else do it?
Absolutely.
And no one can answer that apart from yourself.
Absolutely. But also, why not?
Exactly.
Why not? Now, once again, I know that you've been working extremely hard over the past 18 months. Now, what would you say is why this platform is different from the rest?
That's a very good question. It goes back to what I was saying to you earlier. When I looked into this, my first instinct was, this must be here. There must be a collaboration platform out there. To a degree, that actually pulled in a researcher from New York and said, look, you need to have a look at this. And he came back and said, well, there's influencers. There's a small one, which is a sort of business to business, but there isn't actually anything like this. So that started making me thinking, because this is, where we look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is kind of a good networking platform. It's where you meet people, where it stops. You look at brands like IKEA, you look at brands like Spotify, where they have marketing teams who are very strategic in how they find their partners. So they're hustling behind the scenes, finding people to actually collaborate with. But if you want to actually collaborate, unless you have a marketing department, or you just randomly start cold calling, there isn't a platform anywhere which allows you to put on firstly your video profile, which let's call it your shop window. Then it allows you to create video pitches. So you can pitch your idea and the type of people you want to collaborate with. Then there's an algorithm behind it with similar like-minded brands in the region, which were all globally, which comes together. So, and then it goes into... People call it like the Tinder of matchmaking, but I don't really like using Tinder because I don't think it's very successful. But you start the process of where you have a shortlist or pool of people. Then you start speaking to them, and you might say, I'll talent pool those for later. I'll move to the next stage. And eventually you actually do the event or co-branding. There isn't a system out there which is like it.
Wow.
Which is, I know, I find it bizarre as well. The IT, the tech guys... found it bizarre.
What an opportunity.
Yeah. For example, Six Sense Ziggy Bay, we know that they used to invite lots of visiting practitioners to their spa. But when I asked them, I said, how did you book them? I said, well, we just heard about them. So on the Caviar Spoon, you have an area which is for specifically solo talent. And that's Michelin chefs, up-and-coming chefs, visiting practitioners. And they create their pages, so you can actually go on the platform and find these types of people. So it's been an eye-opener. It's been a real eye-opener. And then wrapped around it, if someone said to you, well, look, James, so if I said to you, what's the benefits of collaboration, you could probably reel off a number of, stats and etc. But a lot of people think collaboration is just crossing a database together. But it's actually a very strategic part of marketing, which a lot of people have forgotten. So wrapped around this whole platform, we're doing the masterclasses. We're actually teaching you how to do it, the due diligence of how to check brands before you partner with them, creating mind-blowing, memorable experiences of themes of what you could do, whether you're a chef or whether you're a mixologist or a hotelier. So that's, I think there's a lot of beautiful added extras which we'll be showcasing shortly.
And it's almost endless. I mean, the things that you can do with the various brands around the world in various regions.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 33% of CEOs from global businesses are actually saying, we have got to actually start doing co-branding more. So we have got to do it. You've got 68% of consumers will actually buy something with a co-branded marketing campaign without even going to the website. So they'll see something which is co-branded and they'll buy it, but they won't necessarily go to the company's website. So you've got all of that stuff, and 54% of companies, state partnerships drive more than 20% of their revenue.
My goodness.
It's savvy thinking. So if we didn't have buckets of money, like how would you create an experience? Well, we have to hustle, right? And the hustle has died for a degree, but now you need to hustle more than you've ever hustled in your whole life. So it's allowing, even though something horrible has happened in the world, it's allowed this ignition to go off in people's brains, and we have to start thinking again and thinking creatively.
So let's talk about that. So in your view, do you think that the pandemic has given various businesses a chance to pivot into new directions?
Yes, completely. I think we, as a business, anything which happens, James, if you look at it, I was in recruitment for years, and we had a recession in 2008. No one wanted people. So what do? You have to come up with ideas and go into survival mode. And I'm going to mention names at the moment, but Gates Hospitality, and I'm not being paid for this, by the way, but Gates Hospitality, they did an incredible job in an awful situation where people were being let off here, and they went, okay, what do? Let's do Zoom online games. Let's do something to, let's think of new ideas. And I think every single industry in the world, one way or another, has been affected. So people are going, what do we do which is slightly different, which will make a story? And it makes someone's ears prick up and someone's eyes light up. So, there's always opportunity which comes out of a crisis. And you have to look above and beyond, because moving forward, James, this will finish, and then there'll probably be another recession, depression, another pandemic. There will always be things in the world which are out of our control. So we have to live with and accept uncertainty, but also remember, never become too comfortable. We should all be looking at new ways of doing things.
Constantly, actually.
Absolutely.
Constantly. This is, the funny thing is that's what I say when I'm training my chefs, whether they're junior or senior. I'm always saying to them, how do we get better? How do you get better personally on a daily basis? How do we as a team get better? I always tell them about an Olympic gold medalist took 20 years to get that medal, not 10 seconds.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's fact. And I always use this line, fortune favours the persistent. And it's true, because you can either sit there and go, oh, this is just awful, let's stop. Or I don't know, I can't think, I can't do it. Or you'll find a way.
Exactly.
And some of the things you may not like, but at least you're trying. And that's number one, is trying and being different.
So the key is perseverance works.
Absolutely.
Now, you know that you're on a foodie podcast.
Yes.
So, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. And this is more going towards the film Ratatouille.
Yep.
So there's a part in Ratatouille, but with the food critic. Oh.
James, you just told me off for
Yes.
turning my phone off.
Oh my god. So next time I'm gonna call Apple and say, listen, your phone is listening to me. During Ratatouille, that's where he wins him over. So I want you to tell me question number 1. Your favorite ever food memory. So it could be from family, it could be wherever. Number 1. Number 2, where has been your meal of a lifetime?
Oh, food memory. Let's think. Oh. I'm going to say my food memory, and this isn't, it's just simple. You know, sometimes it's really simple things. It's being on a beach in Byron Bay and having the most, and I love Byron Bay. It's like hippie capital. I'm sure I'm a kind of capitalist hippie. I love it. But having the most magnificent breakfast and kind of like a picnic hamper. And there's a beach just down from Byron Bay, and you just sit there, and you know, it's just the sun. You know, the sun was coming up. It's just beautiful, and you just have those moments where you just think this life is great. You know, this can't get any better. And so it's a really simple one, but I just remember that day. And it's probably about 3-4 years ago, and I was at a friend's wedding later on in the day. But that morning was a very special moment. Very special. And what was the other question? So where? So
meal of a lifetime. Where was the one place, I'm sure you've eaten all over the world, but where was the one place that you thought, do you know what, this is the place, if you could come back and have that experience again, where would it be?
Right, I may say this wrong. It's Lacombe or Lacombe, and it's just outside Cape Town, so more towards Cape Town and Hout Bay. And, oh my goodness, it's incredible. I mean, it was, I think it's 8 courses, so it's an all-afternoon event. But the visuals, as soon as you walked in, there's this beautiful like tree with these kind of sorbets attached to the trees as such, like a little bonsai tree. You kind of take the sorbet and it explodes in your mouth. It's amazing. And every single dish just delighted the eye, but also delighted, you know, your taste buds. It was just incredible. The wine was incredible. The service was impeccable. You're sitting in a vineyard, and you pay, and it costs 500 dirham for 2.
No.
Yes.
No.
And it's honestly, it's the best meal, the best place I've ever been to. And it's 500 dirham. So the rand, obviously, was smashed. It still is smashed. But yes, the dirham went a long way in Cape Town.
Oh my God. Sounds like the best thing ever.
Yeah. Anyone who's in Cape Town or anyone who goes to South Africa, you have to book this place and book it up. It's booked weeks in advance, but it is an memorable experience.
I'm going to book shortly, I think. Now, who would you say are your either top 3 culinary giants or business giants, and why?
Okay, I'm going to do culinary. I know these guys. Obviously, you're number 1. Forgive me that Dibber oyster in Ziggy Bay that time. But the 3 who I'm really, you know, they're friends, but also they're humble. They're incredibly good at what they do, and they're resilient. Is Colin Clegg. I think Colin rocks. He's just a brilliant chef, great guy, great vibe, no arrogance. The second one is Nicholas Exted from Stockholm. Now he rocks.
That guy.
Love. You know
that
Nicholas.
guy is amazing.
He rocks.
The fire wizard.
Yes. Did a review, and him and his wife came over, and they're real snowboarders. And the whole night was incredible. Went in the kitchen because everything is cooked over the hot coals. And it was just an amazing experience. And met this amazing Japanese chef. I need to think of his name. He's got a place in Paris. And they introduced me to funky wine. And it was just a great thing. But Nicholas was incredible, and so is his wife, lovely lady. I want to get them over. And a third one who is one of my dearest mates is Greg Malouf, and he was the first chef I ever interviewed when he was with Clay, and I just love Greg with all my heart. He's incredible. He's got zero arrogance. His life ambition is to raise the flag for Lebanon, and I just admire him.
Yeah, an incredible guy, the godfather of Middle Eastern cooking.
Yeah, happy hummus.
Absolute legend. And his food is amazing.
Oh, it's amazing.
The way he is, his books, I mean, everything about him. So.
Everything, and he's a great guy. So those three and yourself, they are my rock stars in the culinary world.
So now, we've talked a lot about the collaborations and why they should be everywhere. What would be your biggest piece of advice for anyone who is looking to follow in your footsteps or potentially plan on working with a collaborative brand?
The biggest advice is, firstly, have an open mind. Before you say or before you think, no, we can't, you explore it. And that's essential, because so many people will stop you before you even get anywhere else. The second thing, which is essential, is ensuring you do due diligence on your brand. So it's a bit like dating. You don't just go, oh, let's get married. You need to go through a series of processes to work out that person's right. And with brands and collaborations, they have got to love your brand and protect your brand as much as their own. And it's a very powerful thing. It's like going back to the kind of Rat Pack days. You look after each other. Even if you're going through, and I've done this before, you could be halfway through building an amazing collaboration with a complete powerhouse. You think they're a complete powerhouse, great name, huge coverage, huge opportunity. If for any second you start thinking they're disrespecting your brand or not aligned to the process, you walk away. Because you're going to, if you smell a rat, it's going to probably be a rat. And that's my biggest piece of advice. And people talk to me about collaboration saying, well, you know, what if it goes wrong? Some will go wrong. But I've spent 20 years in recruitment and headhunting, and I'm very good at that. And I've grilled people 4 or 5 interviews, and they've started a job, and it's gone wrong. So sometimes you will have those issues. But as long as you know that you've done a due diligence and you're being true to yourself and they're protective of your brand as much as their own, you're going to have a great time. And I'll finish off with this, James. No one will appreciate collaborations until you've done the first one which works. And then everyone has a light bulb moment.
Very true. Very true.
Absolutely. I've seen the faces, and they're from people who have said to me, oh, well, I'll try it, but I don't really think it will work. I'm too busy. We have a marketing team, blah, blah, blah. And you see it happen, and the light bulb goes off, or you can see the frustration in their face when they've said no and they've seen someone else do it, and then they want to do it.
Which is even better, I think.
Absolutely. And I have a snigger sometimes.
Well, do you know, I really agree with you, because you hit a mega interesting point there, is that, you know, you should protect your own brand with a powerhouse as well as them protecting yours. I think it's mutual respect. And if you don't have that, you're absolutely right. You can smell a rat, then see you later, I'm afraid.
It is a rat. And also, you know, when you think about this, James, it's really important where, you know, you get small brands who are coming through, and I kind of, you know, hunt the brands, I hunt the chefs, I hunt the, you know, it's hunting new talent, the next generation of brands, tomorrow's brands. And they could sit there and go, well, you know, we've got a really good opportunity with this global brand. I say, okay, on paper it sounds amazing. And the global brand, because they're so big, they don't actually appreciate the emerging brand as much, but the emerging brand stays with them. And it's the wrong thing, because the savvy global houses or powerhouses, they realise that the emerging brands are what keeps their brand fresh. Mm-hmm. So an example of that is Louis Vuitton. So So Louis Vuitton, you can only buy so many Louis Vuitton bags. That's why they hunt and find artists which are in the new world, new best thing, new concepts to bring in new ideas, and their brand DNA has never changed, but the artists have created something else. So if you look at Louis Vuitton, they did a collaboration with Supreme. Supreme is a brand you'd never think that Louis Vuitton would collaborate with, but they decided to do this collaboration. There's a long case study behind it. But with those bags, they only opened up and sold in 6 pop-ups around the world. And if you've bought something which is a collaborative piece between Louis Vuitton and Supreme, the pre-loved price is 80 to 100%. So it hasn't dropped. Whoa. So, you know, these two brands came together, but you could assume that Louis Vuitton's the larger one. And on, you know, the beauty world, you have a brand called Drunk Elephant. So it was a privately owned brand, but what she was doing was incredible. Shiseido wanted to pick up the millennial market. You know, her stuff was all kind of, I believe it's all clean beauty. So that brand was an asset to the whole group. And that goes for anything. It goes with chefs and restaurants and hotels. So we just have to, you know, be protective and realise that you may be small, but you're just as important as the big boys.
Love that. Love that. Now, we've spoken about the whole thing in regards to the Caviar Spoon. How can we get hold of you if people want to get hold of you? What is the website? Tell us all things social media, please.
Oh, okay. So, website is www.thecaviarspoon.com. Instagram is @thecaviarspoon.com. And my email, which will come direct to me, is mary@thecaviarspoon.com.
Amazing. And I'll put all of those in the show notes so everyone can get hold of you. Now, I'm just going to recap on everything that we've just discussed. Of course, the journey, you know, all your experience, 20 years, and then pivoting towards these collaborations, your passion as to why we should be collaborating more often. The biggest learning curves within 18 months of setting up the platform. Some incredible words of wisdom, I think, was fantastic. How businesses have pivoted due to the pandemic and they've gone into survival mode, I think is really fantastic. Your food memory, Byron Bay. I haven't been yet.
Oh, you have to go.
I haven't been
it's
yet.
Decadent. It's gorgeous.
Funniest. So your 3 giants or restaurant incidents. The advice you gave, I think that you just touched upon, for me has really hit a nerve in terms of, you know, the big boys should also be aligning with your brand. I think that is such a nail on the head. Everyone should heed advice from this, honestly. It's very, very, very important. Pra, I just want to say, on behalf of the Chef JKP podcast, thank you so, so, so much for coming on here, doing your first ever podcast. And it has been absolutely amazing and eye-opening, and we would love to have you on again.
Oh, thank you so much. And I hope I have at least achieved 8 out of 10 for this today. But no, thank you. I think what you're doing is amazing. And thank you for inviting me. I'm very humbled.